Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I want to discuss something which has to do with how Marvel has been promoting their upcoming slate of films. That question is Marvel ruining the mystery surrounding Avengers Endgame? Now, as we know, in 2018, Disney released Avengers Infinity War. This was the beginning of the culmination of a decade of Marvel movies, where the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and other warriors faced off against Thanos, a villain who planned to wipe out half of the universe's population. Of course, this ended in defeat for Earth's mightiest heroes, and many of the characters who audiences came to know and love were killed when Thanos snapped his fingers and created what is known as the decimation. With that sort of downer ending that we received, and with the next part of the story ready to be told in Avengers Endgame, you would think that Disney would keep the future of our heroes more ambiguous. Yet instead, they've done the opposite, announcing and promoting films that take place after it, such as SpiderMan: Far From Home, which just had a trailer release. SpiderMan in particular was one of the saddest and most focused on deaths in the movie, giving birth to the "Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good" meme that you've no doubt seen many times by now, such as right here in this video. Yet now we're seeing him going off on a school field trip and hanging out with Jake Gyllenhaal. Where's the mystery and ambiguity of his fate? The same can be said for other heroes who are heavily rumored to get sequels in the near future, like Doctor Strange and until recently Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was in pre-production when the James Gunn situation happened. The point that I'm making is that rather than keep most of this very close to the chest, Marvel has been rather open about their upcoming slate of films, and even which characters could be in them. This has in effect rendered much of the ambiguity about the fate of our heroes non-existent. And I know, it doesn't seem like that big of a revelation. After all, I've read the Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War graphic novels, so I know that it's not much of a stretch that the Avengers will get the gauntlet away from Thanos, or find a way to reverse the decimation. Comic books are often like Dragon Ball, where characters who die find ways to come back. However, the difference here is that you don't know for a fact that it's going to happen. You can assume it, but assuming and knowing are two different things. When you know the characters will return, even down to who specifically comes back, then much of the investment in that return isn't really there. And rather, your focus will be on how they come back instead of naturally being guided to that destination and revelation by the story itself. Another problem it could cause is that it might make this movie feel like kind of an afterthought. By knowing what comes after this in the story and that certain characters are still alive, they're taking this epic conclusion that's being built up as, and making it feel more like another stop along the road. By showing what happens after this big climax, Endgame is effectively being shifted from the end to somewhere near the middle. So as a result, it could give the movie the prequel problem in the minds of audiences. Because if the story already tells us what happens after Avengers Endgame, that the Earth is fine and Peter Parker can go on a field trip, then some of that tension is dissolved, because now the audience will go into the theater with prior knowledge and essential spoilers about what's to come after this big climactic film that they're supposed to be focused on. Now, of course, on the other side, Disney has shareholders and investors. They announce these films because it creates confidence in them as a company due to the MCU being a proven financial draw. Spider-Man, Black Panther, the Avengers, and more are products that pretty much print money for Disney. So it makes sense to let everyone know what's to come in the future. But that doesn't really help when it comes to the product itself, because after all, the movie business is a business, but movies themselves are still art. Even if it's about people in over-the-top outfits fighting a giant CGI monster while explosions are happening in the background. And how that art is perceived ultimately has an effect on the bottom line that these businesses are producing the films for. So maybe Disney should try to keep some of this stuff more under wraps until Endgame comes out. Of course, it's possible that this won't have any real effect on audiences, because by now people expect that more films are to come. After all, why would they even introduce these characters without plans for more sequels? That's just the nature of the industry now. And I could also see much of the film's tension surrounding the surviving Avengers and their own fates, especially when many have speculated that their own deaths will be permanent, which explains why they saved the original team from the snap, perhaps to give some of them more fitting endings. is. So overall, is Marvel ruining the mystery surrounding Avengers Endgame? As of right now, I would have to say no. While there's certainly less mystery there than there was before, there's still a lot surrounding the plot of the film itself, and how the Avengers will be able to defeat Thanos, or at least undo the damage that he's caused. But I still think it's some advice that Marvel should consider heading into Avengers Endgame, and whatever future stories they have planned. It might just help audiences stay focused on the current events, and help them to care even more by the time they arrive. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you can see all of my content right away when it comes out.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.